Am I the asshole for refusing to be present at my sister's birth? I, 21F, have a sister, 27F, Liv, who will be giving birth in a couple weeks I guess, and she's doing a home birth. She has made elaborate plans for her labor and is excited for the process. I'm also excited for her too, but honestly it seems a little scary to me. I've unfortunately seen my mom's labor footage. It was not a good experience, loudly crying. I was legit traumatized. Now the thing is that Liv wants to be surrounded by family while laboring. By family I mean her husband and a few female family members from both sides. Her sil is coming, and from our side, Mom will be there. When the conversation came up the other day, she totally just casually said that we'll get her through it. I told her that I was not going to be there because I'm not sure if I would be able to stay calm seeing her agitated and of course witnessing the bloody miracle of birth. She was surprised that I was saying such a thing. I tried to reason with her and said that I'll support her in every other way, like cooking or cleaning her house, but I just don't want to be there when she's all screaming and the baby's coming out. She got super angry, and lectured me on how I was ruining her perfect labor plan, and then Mom also got on my back that I was being squeamish for no reason. Liv then got super emotional and Mom tried to calm her down and gestured for me to leave, which I did. I understand that Liv is emotional of course because she's just about to give birth, but I really don't think I'll be a stable person during that process. It's better that I come after. I have no problem in taking care of her, and of course I'll love the baby so much after it's born. But I just can't stop feeling so guilty for saying no to Liv, and of course she became quite stressed because of my refusal. So Reddit, am I the asshole? Not the asshole. Your sister seems to not understand the difference between an invitation and a summons. Not the asshole. If her perfect labor plan can't accommodate one person who isn't the midwife or even the father being absent, I shudder to think how she's going to handle it if there are complications or the baby just comes too darn fast to gather everyone. Tell me your sister lives to be the center of attention without telling me she lives to be the center of attention. Not the asshole. Sorry you have to deal with your mom having made her the golden child. Does she has an emergency plan included in her perfect plan? It sounds like she expects the ideal process, but is taking the risk that the child will die or be mentally disabled. Just to be honest. With no emergency room nearby and no theater for C-section, she is taking an incredible risk. There are so many possibilities of stuff going wrong. From the baby's getting stuck, to not enough contractions, to cord around her neck, to not enough O2. I wouldn't want to be there and support this irresponsibility in your position. I mean, it could go totally wrong and you would witness how your sister and her child dies and you can do nothing to save her. Not the asshole. I think a lot of people don't realize that just because you're giving birth your way doesn't mean you get to dictate who has to be there. If you're not comfortable being there, then that's it. Sure, it's nice to have your brother, sister there, mom, dad and partner, but not everyone can deal with the blood and situation. My brother can't see blood or he'll pass out, so he wasn't there at the birth of his daughter in the room, but she had plenty of support and understood his situation and wasn't upset by it. Normally the posts are all about how birth is not a spectator sport. I think we need to add, it's also not a royal summons. Am I the asshole for suggesting my cousin and his wife should have hired a babysitter? Under my maternal uncle, I have 3 cousins. I was at the wedding of one of those cousins, and my other cousin and his wife decided to bring their newborn baby, 14 months, female, to the ceremony and reception. Well, once the ceremony began, the baby started crying because her parents, cousin and wife, were in the wedding party and my aunt, groom's mother, had to hold her instead. My aunt then proceeds to hand the baby off to me and whispers that, there's a cry room in the back. So I took the crying infant in the back and coddled her until she finally stopped crying, which took until the end of the ceremony. So I had to miss most of it, which I was pissed about to say the least. Later aunt asks if I'm okay and I break it to her that actually I wasn't, because I was all of a sudden forced to coddle this child I wasn't even responsible for and miss the ceremony. I then mentioned that my cousin and his wife should have hired a babysitter because 1, babies don't know what weddings are and therefore just cry and make a bunch of noise, and 2, the baby won't even remember it. Aunt seemed appalled at my response, but Whittahier? Not the asshole, you're completely right. I'm more appalled your aunt made you take the baby instead of going herself. Not the asshole. You're right. It's not your kid, so not your responsibility. They could have hired a sitter and left the baby there or brought a caregiver to the ceremony. It was not fair to you to have to miss the ceremony because of some other person's poor planning and a child that was not even yours. Not the asshole. She needed to hear it. Maybe next time she won't dump her child onto unwilling people. Also, 14-month is a toddler, not a newborn lol. Not the asshole. Good for you for taking care of the baby and for stating your very valid opinion and not being a doormat. You did everything right. You handled the situation very well and with maturity. The only thing left now is to accept that it happened and don't carry any negative feelings with you going forward. Not the asshole. You had every right to say this. I also don't get why people bring small babies to weddings. Not the asshole. That was unfair to you to have to take care of the baby all because the aunt didn't want to miss her son getting married, which I understand, but they planned poorly and you were the one forced to deal with their mistake. If you're ever in a similar situation again, just say you're not comfortable. It's not your responsibility and you have every right to say no. Am I the asshole for being honest with my parents about my childhood? I, 24M, was poor growing up. We had to rough it throughout my childhood and teenager years. College was funded solely by scholarships and shitty part-time jobs. I don't hold any resentment towards my parents over this, but it was hard at the time. I think I would still be struggling now, had things been different. I met my partner, 31M, during my sophomore year and we've been together for just under 5 years. His family was in the exact opposite financial situation as mine. He has an established position in his father's company he has since we met and works remotely. Since my graduation in May, we've spent almost the entire summer with his parents, sightseeing and bouncing around to their different vacation homes. It was such a wonderful experience. I never thought I'd experience something like that, but the adjustment was easier than I expected. As we headed back home this week, we stopped by to visit my parents, 45F and 47M. While there, I mentioned that this summer felt like what all the summer breaks of my childhood should have been, and how excited I was for the future when my partner and I have children and can give them this treatment. My mother apparently took incredible offense to what I had said and said they had done the best they could for me as a child. I replied that I never claimed any differently. The argument ended with us still not seeing eye to eye, and my husband and I made an early departure than we had been planning on thanks to the tension in the house that remained. Am I the asshole? You are the asshole. You can be honest about your childhood by saying you were poor. Saying, my childhood should have been like this, when your parents didn't choose to be poor is a huge asshole move. It was so easy to adjust. Someone please take the silver spoon out of OP's mouth. You are the asshole. What your summer breaks should have been. How utterly insensitive and hurtful. Your parents didn't choose to be poor. No one does. It's shocking that you don't see how unkind what you said was. I mentioned that this summer felt like what all the summer breaks of my childhood should have been. You are the asshole. You told your parents they should have been wealthy enough to afford vacation homes and months of travel for summer holidays. How could you expect them not to be hurt? You are the asshole. You weren't honest with your parents about your childhood. Your words were thoughtless and cruel, and they make you sound like an entitled ingrate. My mother apparently took incredible offense to what I had said and said they had done the best they could for me as a child. I replied that I never claimed any differently. Yeah, except you did just that when you said, what all the summer breaks of my childhood should have been. You essentially told your parents that they failed because they, like the majority of people, didn't own multiple vacation homes for you to spend your summers at. You're walking proof that money, or in this case a spouse's money, doesn't buy class. You are the asshole. That was a low blow to your parents, even if it wasn't intentional. You could have easily worded that differently so it didn't essentially come out as, if we weren't so poor when I was growing up I could have had amazing summers, which is pretty much how I see it as being worded. You are the asshole. And you quoted yourself, using the phrase that probably got your mom upset. What all the summer breaks of my childhood should have been, showoitive. Not what you wished they could have been. What they should have been. That one word should was loaded with implied criticism. No wonder your mom took offense. Am I the asshole for kicking my Mill out after she watched the kids? I will be quick here. Mill came to babysit our 3 kids, 12-yo twin girls, 9-yo boy, Friday. She arrived at 7 p.m., was supposed to be there at 6, and the kids go to bed at 8. She stayed until 2 a.m. I paid her $150. So for 90% of the time the kids were in bed, sleeping. When I get home I find my Mill sleeping on the couch. As she usually does when she babysits, she usually stays the night. But things were completely out of place. Like my room had been gone through, my computer personal files had been left open, Definitely were not up when I left. Files that contain intimate photos of both me and my husband, mind you. My dog was fast asleep on my bed versus put in her kennel. Strict no dogs on the bed rule, which she is aware of. Her garbage all throughout the living room. Candy wrappers, snot rags. My bathroom completely rearranged and trashed, including all of our clean towels sitting in the bathtub. The only thing I really had a problem with was my computer. Everything else was the icing on the cake. Like, why are you going through my computer files? I have personal info in there, contracts with clients, and again, intimate photos of both me and my husband. And we have a strict no one allowed in our office rule because of this. So I woke her up and told her she had to leave. My husband was just dumbstruck, wondering what the hell happened to our house when I told him I was kicking her out, and he just nodded because he was baffled that she went through my computer as well and pretty embarrassed thinking his mom just saw those photos. So I kick her out and she is asking what she did wrong, and I asked her at this point what the fuck she was doing in my office, rummaging through my computer files. She claims she was looking for solitaire, which she knows wouldn't be deep in 8 different files marked intimate and personal, so that was bullshit. She starts freaking out saying she will just leave in the AM, and I say no, now. She leaves. We wake up to several texts and nasty voicemail saying we are wrong and that if I didn't want people going through my shit, I should put a lock on it. I do have a lock on my computer, but it's her son's birthday, so not that hard to hack. Am I the asshole? Completely and utterly not the asshole. She's come into your house, wrecked the place, invaded your privacy and breached your trust. You have every right to kick her out. What's even worse is that you paid her to do this. She sounds like she has absolutely zero respect for you. I was looking for a knife to cut a sandwich and figured you may have it in your 8-file deep. Don't look at this private file on your computer. Oopsie. Not the asshole. Your mill has balls and should know better than to snoop through personal things. Not the asshole. At all. If she has a smartphone, which I know not everyone has, but it's a statistical assumption, she can have solitaire on her phone. So why the hell was she on your computer? Also, you really need to put a password on your laptop, especially if you have directories clearly labeled intimate. If she wants solitaire so badly, include a guest account that has the solitaire icon right in the middle of the desktop. What a bizarre situation. Does she have an issue with alcohol or pills? Or does she show any signs of dementia or Alzheimer's? This sounds like the actions of someone completely out of sorts. You have to pay your mill to babysit? Is this a normal thing? Anyway, not the asshole sounds bonkers. Not the asshole and just outright weird. If she truly wanted to play a game that badly, why not just ask permission to go on your computer? And what's with the towels in the bathtub and other random messes? Not the asshole. I'm not a doctor, but I spent 17 long years dealing with my stepmother's early onset dementia. And frankly, this sounds awfully familiar. Particularly the rearranged bathroom with the towels in the tub and the rummaging through the bedroom. Not an excuse, obviously, but possibly an explanation. Your chances of having her evaluated are probably close to zero. But bear in mind that she may no longer be safe alone with your children or your pets, especially at night when dementia seems to be at its worst.